I gotta tell you, on this Bandcamp, it's been positioned, it has been portrayed as one of the most artist-friendly platforms out there. As you know me, I'm the music attorney. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna look at these contracts that you guys sign in order to use these platforms, and I'm not gonna pull the punches. I'm gonna tell you what they say, okay? And sometimes, lo and behold, we find that these music businesses possibly have something to hide. So look, I have been asked to review the terms of service for Bandcamp for a while. And yes, the things that we are really excited about with this platform is we talk about direct to fans as far as sales all the time, okay? And just being like, don't rely on just making money through royalties from your Spotify plays. Why don't we focus on making you $500 from your sample pack? Why don't we focus on making you $1,500 because you put together an original song for someone's wedding? Like, this is the kind of monetization we want to think through. So, in the direct to fan framework, Bandcamp is a platform that allows you to sell your music, and you can also package together different merchandise and do all this great stuff. So it's going to be kind of twofold on what we're doing today, but let me just start with these are the questions that I'm going to be asking as I look at these terms of service for you guys. Number one, is this platform really as audience and artist friendly as they purport to be? Number two, how does the money work? And that's just always a big question. When we go through these contracts with like your guys' music distributors, and I'm like, it's really important since they are controlling your money that we understand how they pay you, what fees that they take. And that's where, a lot of our frustrations have come from because we find out that they're like making money off of your money and not giving it to you. We find out that they have the right to just kick you off the platform and take your royalties. So, with that all being in mind, that's why our second question is how does the money work? What fees are they taking? What rights do they have that you don't know about? And then number three, is your account protected from termination? So this has been a newer thing that's come up recently in that we're looking at these terms of service and these companies retain the right to kick you off the platform, to delete your account. But where it's really come up as an extra important is when you have to buy things like credits, right? So if you're using an account like, let's say, Splice, and you buy credits to then buy samples, what happens if your account just gets deleted and you've paid like $1,000 for credits? Do those credits get refunded to you? Anyway, so that's why we care about what happens to your account that you're using on a platform like this. Bandcamp terms of use. This is the contract that you guys sign when you sign up to use Bandcamp. Now, they start with a whole section that says, hey, this is not a legally binding part of the contract. And they have this little overview where they put it in layman's terms. So basically, they go, look, we're about to hit you with some legalese, which is the contract. Before we do that, we're just going to say this to you in plain language so that hopefully we're all on the same page, which I can appreciate. We don't often see companies doing that. So they go, hey, FYI, all the stuff we're about to say in this little section, not binding. Okay, but we're just going to do our best to like share some information with you. They just go, look, these are the questions that most artists have. Am I signing over my firstborn, my home, my music, my firstborn? No. Basically, what they say is that you can use this platform like on a temporary kind of basis. You're uploading your music, you're selling your stuff. Is it okay for me to do covers? They go, you must own or control all the rights to everything that you upload. That means covers are out. Now, this was something that kind of for some of you who do a lot of cover songs, and in fact, there are artists who make entire careers off of doing covers, and then every once in a while, they'll do some original music, they go on tour, but really, like, they're known for their covers. So I don't know if for anyone who's been affected specifically by this could be a big deal for some people. For other people, not so much. But they do go on to say, they go, covers are out unless you have a written license or authorization from the artist to upload the cover to Bandcamp and grant us the rights. Now, let me just tell you, the reason why they're saying that is because, under the US Copyright Act, the digital service providers like Spotify, they have the obligation to get the mechanical license that you need in order to put your cover on music platforms. So at least, based on reading this, I'm like, okay, so Bandcamp is not facilitating. They're not acting like one of these DSPs, these digital service providers. Just good to know. This is we just want to understand basically what we're getting into here. Okay, so they go on. They're like, how much does it cost? I'm going to go through the pricing here really fast with you guys so we can just keep everything on the up and up. And then they're like, okay, so now we're gonna get into the legally binding stuff. All right. And they go, just a reminder, this is the contract for your use on the Bandcamp site. And this is not only for the music artists, but it's also for the fans who follow you. And if you go to register for an account, it will ask you, are you registering as a fan, as an artist, as a record label? And I went in to register an account because I haven't been on this platform just yet. And I have heard some good things from you guys in the community. And so I go, all right, this is the initial page that comes up. And they're like, sign up for an artist account, basic stuff, basic stuff. And this is what it is. Everyone pause for a sec. I have read the terms of use. That's where people usually just like don't pay attention. So they're like, yep, by clicking that is a legally binding thing you just did. So I just want to make sure that that point is clear. Now, let's talk about the money really fast. Bandcamp provides this on their website and they go, all right, so how does the payment stuff work? The majority of the accounts are standard or they use the standard payment system. So under the standard payment system, this is the way it works. You'll get paid out via your PayPal account 24 to 48 hours. Okay. After, I'm assuming, I don't know if it just automatically pays you, if there's like a threshold thing. Higher value purchases, if you sell something for like $500, are manually reviewed. It could take up to 14 days. All right. And then also we collect our 10 to 15% of revenue share. Okay, so I paused on that. All right, because me always thinking of if you guys are selling stuff and you're actually making whatever, let's say $500 on your new EP, $1,000 and getting some digital downloads and whatever, 10 to 15% ends up adding up. And we go, well, let's compare. Okay, because for some of you, you're not even putting your stuff on music platforms, right? Some of you want to do direct to fan as like I'm just using a website like Bandcamp. And so we go, well, if you were going through a distributor, a lot of distributors do 80/20. So compared to that, I mean, you're getting a little bit of a better deal because they're only taking 10 to 15%. But my curiosity was like, all right, so when is it 10 and when is it 15? Because it actually could make a big difference. And they do answer that. So they go on to say, also there's physical merchandise that's paid directly into your PayPal. Since we aren't able to collect our 10% revenue share at the time of the transaction, we instead keep a running tab on the amount owed, which you can call your revenue share balance. That balance is automatically paid off with proceeds collected from future sales. And then I think, yeah, this is where I went digging. So they go, what are the fees? I'm like, tell me about this 15%. For digital items, Bandcamp's fee is 15%. This rate drops to 10% as soon as you reach $5,000 US dollars in sales and stays there provided you've made at least $5,000 in the past month. So this is always where I'm like, I wish I had Bandcamp on the phone. Because I go, my interpretation of that is that if in the 12-month period, right? So like it moves, it shifts 3 months, and now it's like in the new 12-month period. If I'm not in the 5,000 consistently, that's when it jumps up to 15. So, not that we necessarily have like a huge problem with it. I just want you guys to understand what it is, okay? And then we do get into talking about the fees that can be assessed against you for using this platform. So let's get into more of the details here. Back into the terms of service. All right, here we go. So a legally binding contract. I'm doing this the same way I do this for my clients where I read the whole thing, but I'm specifically going to point out stuff that I think is really important to you, which is we're going to get into the fees. All right. Bandcamp enables fans to purchase the stuff from artists, including content made available via download, streaming through, basically digital content, merch, artist subscriptions. All right. So they do lots of good stuff. They go, all sales of digital content are final, except where prohibited by law. But then it goes on right here and it goes, at Bandcamp's sole discretion, you may be credited or refunded for the digital content. So remember I told you that this contract deals with both you as the artist using this platform, but it also deals with the fans using the platform. So initially they're like, we don't do any refunds. Okay. I was like, okay. Right. But then they do go on to say, well, we may, if someone escalates a problem, a fan escalates a problem in regards to one of your things, because they're like, I bought Tony's special guitar pick and he never sent it to me. So there was like a fulfillment issue that obviously Bandcamp's going to step in. They're going to try to, make it right. So there are things that can happen, such as with chargebacks. All right, so I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with this. All right, where like you make a sale and then the customer calls their bank, they call the credit card company and they make a claim, right? True or not. And they go, Tony never sent me the guitar pick with the special signed thing or whatever. And so they do a chargeback. And what Bandcamp basically says is that like they're just so hands off with that stuff. They're like, if anything bad happens and there's chargebacks and if there's taxes and if there's fees assessed by like, PayPal, they mentioned Stripe as well. They're like, that's all on you. So as far as I don't love that, but I do understand it. That was the first thing. So I'm like, okay. So in the fees land on whether it makes sense for us to use this platform for our direct to fan efforts, let's keep going. Become your own record label, which is literally if you're like, hey, I want to start a record label. Cool, I got you. Understand the entire music business. I want to set up my LLC. I want to do the marketing. It's a lot. So for example, sync licensing, for example, music marketing, it's significantly cheaper than anything you would ever get from a law firm as far as all the stuff that comes with it. And you want to make six figures from your music career and you want to do this for real. Like, I'm going to give you what you need. All right, fees and payments. Artists may sell their products and services to fans through the site, including without limitation, their content, digital content merch, artist subscriptions. They get to set, the prices for the products and services. Okay, super great. And, a part of kind of the analysis here of like, could you just do this on your own website? Can you set up a Dropbox link and then like connect to PayPal things so that someone can just buy stuff directly from you on your website? And then there is 0% being given to a third party like Bandcamp. You still have your fees from PayPal and all that stuff. Yes, but, there's kind of an argument of, well, does the customer though feel safe? Do they feel okay about like putting in their credit card information to your website versus, do they trust Bandcamp more? So in you kind of thinking through this as your own business, does it make sense? That's one thing just to consider of like, where do you think you're going to get more sales? And then, to Bandcamp's credit, they're like, you put your stuff into our system, we might end up putting you like on our homepage. Hey, Tony's new single is out, and so we might push it, we might get you traffic. So there's like, some benefits to doing this, right? But let's keep focusing on just kind of what happens here with the fees. So they go, the company shall be entitled to share the revenue received from the various transactions, right? The revenue share, which shall be calculated on your gross revenue from transactions, not including any transactions for which you or we provide a refund in accordance to the rates and all the pricing and all the good stuff set forth herein. I paused on the gross revenue because I go, okay, so does that mean they're taking their share? If there's like, they take it first before there's any problem. So if there's a problem and a chargeback and fees and whatever, like you're getting hit with all of that. For those of you who use Bandcamp, drop me a comment down below, okay? I have not used their platform personally for my music, but I am really curious about just, especially with the reporting. That's the thing that they don't disclose in this contract on what does the reporting look like? Do you get statements? Do you have full access to see what was the amount? You're like, my album's $10.99 or whatever. And then to see what were the fees that they assessed, what was the final amount that you got paid. That transparency piece is just really, really important for me as I'm looking through these on just being like, does this make sense for you guys? And is this something that I want to recommend to my clients, to my students? So they go through and they talk about the different fees for the merchandise and all that stuff. Now, when you receive a payment from a transaction, you may be liable to Bandcamp or the applicable third-party payment processor for the full transaction amount plus any fees if the payment is later invalidated for any reasons. This means that in addition to any other liability, you will be responsible for the amount of the payment sent by the sender plus the applicable fees if there is a chargeback, a dispute, or if there's a reversal of the payment. Yikes. So, as far as just being like, we are the ones that are going to kind of, be your platform and facilitate all this stuff, they make it sound like you're on your own. And they're not really going to do very much to try to help you if fans decide to do a chargeback. Okay, so that stood out to me a little bit. All right, and then there are additional fees. You can pay to upgrade. You can get, I think it's called a pro. So the Bandcamp Pro or label accounts, and they're just like, there's extra features. One thing I did really like about this is that they go, you can terminate at basically any time. So I was like, all right, that's cool. I really like it when services don't like just lock you in unnecessarily. Yep, it says right here, if you sign up for all these things, you can cancel at any time. So that was great. As I'm kind of going through this, I go, okay, the things I care about initially, the money portion. So far it's like they're taking at the most 15%. Are we okay with this? At least you know now, right? It's 15%. You might also pay some additional fees if you want one of these additional accounts. Okay. You kind of have an ouchie of dealing with, chargebacks and fees and anything else. They are taking their share from gross. It's not the final thing that you get paid from the total amount, which means you're going to get diluted even further. But now let's talk about ownership of your stuff, right? We always go, if you're going to put your music up on these platforms, I don't know. What do they say about that? All right, so the services provided, you're uploading your stuff onto our platform. It includes all of your sound recordings, your videos, your audiovisual works. And they say right here, company will have no ownership rights in any element of your music. Okay, that's good. However, company needs the following license in order to provide you the services. So then they go into a big long list and they're like, we are allowed to reproduce, distribute, publicly perform, to our audience. And they go on, this is what we define as exploitation. Okay. So the following giant paragraph, very important. So they go, in order for us to exploit, right? They use that word. Then they give a list and they go, when we're exploiting, it's going to be the artist's music, and the ability to have the artist perform that music, to copy it, to put it into stores, to then sublicense it, to exploit it to all associated copyrighted partners and the metadata. So it's a very broad, expansive kind of definition. And they do that intentionally because they basically want to be like, you're giving me the rights to do whatever I need to do on this platform in order to not get sued by you. We point that stuff out, but I do at least, couch it by saying it's not something we're too concerned about. And we do see that with these platforms. In order to enable us to exploit your music, the above permissions you grant is worldwide, non-exclusive, royalty-free, sub-licensable, and transferable, which I don't love. I'm like, who are you going to transfer my music to if I put my music on your platform? Hopefully, maybe one of your other subsidiaries or something, but I don't particularly love that. So, so far, we're not terribly offended. We have been very offended. We've been very upset with different music distributors, different companies that license rights to samples. And always near the end of the agreement, that's usually when we get into all this language about warranties and limitations of liability. And so with Bandcamp, let's just see, are they like these other agreements? Okay, so IP rights, they go through all the fan stuff. So let's go down, down, down. Termination, right? So the company may terminate your access. Here we go. There's that question we had. Company may terminate your access to all or any part of the service at any time, with or without cause, with or without notice, effective immediately, which may result in the forfeiture and the destruction of all information associated with your membership, including without limitation, any access to any music that you may have purchased. Now, remember I said this is the agreement that is for the fans as well as the musicians who are using this platform. And if I needed to give a little note to Bandcamp on just maybe clarifying, it's like, that does not make me feel very comfortable as a music creator, just to be like, you can terminate my account at any time. If I've, spent a lot of time promoting this, if I put this link to my storefront through Bandcamp on videos and stuff like that, I don't particularly like that. Now, I don't know if this is more geared towards the fans, and they're like, maybe if you're being a naughty fan and causing problems or whatever, we can kick you off the platform for any reason, but I don't like that there is no cause. So meaning they can do it for any reason, anytime. And that's just what it says. It doesn't specify whether it's just, who it actually relates to. All right, so let's get into more of the juicier stuff, which is warranty disclaimer. All right, so Bandcamp has no fiduciary duty to you. We're not in charge of your money. We don't make any, we take any responsibility. All the services that we provide is, as available. We make no warranty of any kind. And then it gets better, right? They go, also, if you upload music and you have claims by people who help to make the music, you have to go defend and pay the attorney's fees. You indemnify us. We're not going to do anything. And then also, limitation of liability. You waive special, indirect, punitive, consequential damages. And if you decide you want to sue us, the most you can sue us for is $100. I'm always going to laugh because these companies all do the same thing. And they're like, we're basically going to make it impossible for you to ever really get a remedy. And this is why I always go back to, that's why it's a mission of mine with this channel and with my law firm of getting results to protect you guys, because these companies work really hard to protect themselves. That's all I can say there. $100. Just so you guys know, this contract is governed by California law. And then, P.S., this is not something we see in all the contracts that we review. They say, you and Bandcamp agree that you only have 1 year after the time that you realize that something happened. So they go, as soon as you discover if there's been like a breach of contract, if someone, I don't know, you're like, Jenny from Bandcamp stole my song. I don't know what the situation would be. Okay. But you only have 1 year from the time that you discover it to actually sue them. I was like, I don't see that in all these contracts that we reviewed together. So having a statute of limitations, which cuts off your ability to actually seek some kind of remedy, interesting. Now, again, back to the whole, well, if we do, you call me up, Crystal, we got to sue them. I'm like, great, let's sue the pants off of them. I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, we can sue them for $100. And then lastly, one thing I did like about this is that at the very end of the document, they have a note on all the times that they've made changes to their terms and what they updated. Just to kind of pull this back around, I really liked in the very beginning where they're like, hey, this is not part of the contract, but we are just going to tell you a couple of things just so you know, in very plain language. And I said this before for Lander. Lander kind of did the same thing, where they're really trying to just to talk to you and not use big legally words, because it's like, there's a contract that everyone is signing, and most attorneys don't even understand what this stuff means. You know what I'm saying? So I like that. So here's my recap. All right. So the responsibility of the fees and the chargebacks, that's on you as the music maker. I don't like that. Do I understand it? Yes, but obviously that's gonna really suck. Okay. Because they're just gonna be like, we took our fee. You know what I'm saying? Are they gonna pay back their share of that chargeback? I didn't read that it said that. Number two, the no perpetual access, the fact that they can terminate your account at any time. I really didn't like that. The warranty disclaimers, limitation on your ability to sue, all that stuff. I didn't like that. But generally speaking, of the things that I pointed out compared to some of the other agreements that we've gone through, not the most offensive on this one. And then there's the other piece, which is just so important. And this kind of goes to like music distributors, because I go, look, this is like what these contracts for these music distributors say. And then you guys always ask, okay, Crystal, so which distributor should I use? And one that comes up a lot with the clients and, the consultations that I do is that, they'll be like, DistroKid. Like, well, what do you think about DistroKid? And I'll say, you know what? I've given you a super honest rundown of their contract, and there's stuff in there that I do not like and that I think they need to update. But the caveat's going to be that I actually work with DistroKid in that I dispute with them on behalf of my clients all the time. And I say, you locked my client out of the account, you took their royalties, and like 99.9% of the time, we always get pretty much everything that we're asking for because DistroKid is reasonable. And they respond when we're like, this is the law, this is how it works. And so because of that, I'm like, I'm fine saying, go work with DistroKid. I've used DistroKid. So, in the same kind of vein with Bandcamp, my feeling is that I've heard a lot of really good things from my community here on this YouTube channel. You guys dig it. And so practically speaking, your actual use of the platform, I've heard good things based on my review of the contract. I may just go set up my new Miss Crystal artist account on Bandcamp. We're all about direct to fan marketing, making you as much money as humanly possible. That's the point of this channel. So if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. I'm top music attorney, Miss Crystal. See you on the next one.